Welcome to HR in the Car with Miriam Duchesne and Tom Shin of Alaant Workforce Solutions, where exciting HR professionals and business leaders share laughter, insider stories, and maybe even a few tears about HR in today's world. Buckle up for the best half hour of your week.
Wow, a year's gone by in a flash, hasn't it?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, we're here again for our wrap-up show. Not again, but we're here today for our wrap-up show for Season 1 of HR in the Car, brought to you by Alaant Workforce Solutions. So we're excited to talk about different things that we've come across over the course of the year, how the show's evolved, what new experiences we've had, fun stories we've learned about folks. I took some notes. You don't get to see them because I'm hiding them here. But Miriam and I are going to share a little bit of some of our favorite pieces here. You can look at my chicken scratch if you want. It's all good.
I won't be able to read it anyway.
I think to me, the couple of things that stood out most was those wild and crazy thoughts about folks that you never knew, like Joe Marie's nunnery piece.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I loved how John Kuznia talked about being a cardiothoracic surgeon as his intro piece. And then, of course, Jen Massey's toolkit that she brought to us, which we carried for the rest of the season.
Yep, absolutely.
What were some of your highlights?
Oh, gosh. Well, John Baggy is always a favorite of mine because he has great stories because he's a labor attorney. I mean, we have our wonderful favorite guests of the season here today, which is why we asked them all to come back, because we probably could have talked to each one of them for 2 hours or more, and they're all doing great things. So that's a highlight for me. And honestly, another highlight for me is just the feedback that we've gotten in the community. A lot of people come up to me and they'll be like, oh, I listened to your podcast. And we've actually made connections through the podcast. So what I mean by that is not us making connections, but a person came up to me yesterday and said, oh, I met Betty. And I was like, oh, how'd you meet Betty? Well, she heard me on your podcast, so she reached out to me because she wanted to meet me. And it was like basically a segue for people to meet each other. And I had a woman in an event we were at yesterday come up to me. She's like, hi, I listened to your podcast. And I was like almost like fangirl in a way. And it was like so sweet. And I was like, wow, people actually like this.
You get that little giddy moment when somebody says, I listened to you. You're like, wait, what? You know who we are?
Yes. So I think those are some of the highlights for me. So I'm looking forward to getting an update from our wonderful guests, Joe and Catherine and Trent, and just talk just a little bit more about what they're doing, and then we'll have like a nice little conversation. We asked them to ask us a couple of questions and things that they might be interested in knowing, whether it's personal, professional, about us or not about us. That's okay too. So yeah.
Yeah, we're excited. So welcome Joe Bonilla from Motor Oil Coffee
he is.
and Relentless Awareness, and Catherine Hovers here from the Palette Community and Paint and Sip up in Saratoga. And Trent Griffin, I'm going to butcher your name. We'll try that again. And Trent Griffin-Braaf, Tech Valley Shuttle, among his many other operations. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Yes, indeed.
You have
Joe's
a very
got a
good
radio
voice.
voice.
He does.
I know.
Very
Joe's
good.
turned on his radio voice.
Yeah.
Cannot compete with that.
Or as Tom would say, fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So is everyone a serial entrepreneur, like has multiple businesses?
Yeah, and we didn't realize that when we asked you all to come back, but now that we're all sitting together, we're like, oh, look what we did.
Right.
Yeah, we're all crazy.
Yes.
A little bit, right?
Yes. Yeah, but
Agreed.
that's what makes you great, right? So, Joe, tell us a little bit about everything that you've been working on. I know you opened at least 2 more.
So when I came on the show last, we had just opened up State Street in Albany.
You had opened that one.
Yes,
Okay.
and since then we opened up, at the time of this recording, Madison Avenue in Albany
Yes.
2 days ago. And
Is the wine ready yet on that one?
very soon.
Okay,
Later.
okay.
Yeah, very, very soon.
You have my cell phone number, right?
I do, and you'll be one of the first to know.
Wine, coffee, just mix them together. Right?
And then we have 2 more opening, one in Stillwater in a partnership with Upton Coffee. That will open up in 2 more weeks. And then Slip 12 in downtown Albany in about 6 weeks. So we'll have 5 in total by the end of the summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Catherine knows all about that. She had her multiple paint and sips running and trying to control the universe in that space.
Yes.
Global
yes.
domination, right?
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I will never, ever, ever be in the food service business again. We killed our cafe at the end of 21, and it is just not what I want to do. So kudos to you, because it's a lot of work.
It is a lot.
And yeah, I'm better on the other side of the counter. So drinking lots of coffee. Drinking lots of coffee.
Lots of those.
Drinking lots of
customers.
wine, but yeah.
So, Catherine, when you were here last, you literally came from 40 Under 40 to do our podcast. And I had the pleasure of celebrating you just a few weeks ago in the category of Women of Excellence, which I, of course, am also a member of that what would we call it? Sorority, alumni. Either way. So tell us what else you've been up to.
Yeah, so that was like a whirlwind, and that was also like the week of or the week after I was on the cover of the Albany Business Review.
Oh, that's right.
So there was a lot of attention on me, and I like to create attention, but not necessarily on me. You know, I'm of the mindset I like to spotlight others. So it was a lot, emotionally turbulent and a lot of imposter syndrome. What is this? You know, is this really valid? You know, so there were some things I had to work through. But yeah, and if it was up to me, I probably would have spread that press out a little more.
You're right.
all over for a 3-week span. Catherine.
Right. Yeah, which I appreciate and I love, and it feels awesome just to be able to have that platform to share about our community and what we're doing and all the awesome people that are doing things too. So, but yeah, I mean, the reporter from Albany Business Review, she called me in January to basically say they wanted to do this profile piece on me, and so of course I come from a place of yes, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And she goes, but let me tell you more about how in depth this will be. This will be 3 to 4 days of me following you, shadowing you, your every move.
Oh boy!
And she was serious, and so I'm an all-in person. So I said yes, and we went with it. But yeah, she showed up at my house at 7:30 in the morning on a day when I didn't realize that the two little ones didn't have school, and it was also a parent-teacher conference day. So
that was perfect.
She sat in. She literally sat in the chair with the teacher and talked all about my parenting.
About my parenting.
About my parenting. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yes, and so my husband travels for work a lot, so he wasn't around for that. So yeah, so Sam sat in, and she asked questions too. So I thought that was whatever. I'm an open book.
Did she give you parenting tips along the way about homework?
No, but around 3:00 that day, she I had packed lunches and stuff for my kids to eat, but at around 3:00 she's like, do you stop to eat? And I was like, oh yeah, let's do a little drive-through action and I'll feed you. But yeah, I mean, I am just go all day, every day. I don't have much of a gap in between, and I've really integrated my home life and my personal life in with the business. So yeah, she was here for it the whole
she was here
for 3 days.
She was here for it.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Love it.
Yeah.
Trent, what about you?
Man, since the last time I was on the show, probably the biggest thing has been the SBA naming me the Small Business Person of the Year for upstate New York. That's probably been the biggest thing. There's some other things that are coming down the pipeline I can't even speak on yet because it hasn't come out.
We're good. Yeah, tell us.
I wish I could, but I gotta be closed mouth about things.
Yeah.
So, started working with a PR firm, doing a lot more, spreading kind of the nuggets out about what we're doing, helping returning citizens. And that's gathering a lot of attention. Yesterday, I think I actually just I was a keynote for a web series for the Department of Labor and Workforce GPS. Had about 1,200 leaders in HR from across the nation on the call, connecting with a couple from different states, and hopefully be able to share my knowledge across the nation.
We were talking about you yesterday because
That's why my ears were ringing.
That's why they were ringing. Because we were talking about an event that we want to do towards the end of the year, kind of in coupling with our hiring index, which we just did event more recently. And one of the participants came up afterwards and she said, it would be a really interesting event if you incorporated individuals who are working with or have had success stories with underserved, underprivileged, marginalized, second chances type demographics and how it's working. And so we just we started scribbling. We're like, we need to talk to Trent, we need to talk to this person, we need to talk to that person. But you were on our list for that because, you know, when I think second chances and I think, you know, hiring people who have been formerly incarcerated, you're the first person I think of because your story and the success that you've had is, I think, really compelling, and more employers need to continue to change their mindsets, and they're not there yet. We were just talking about it today, that employers say all the right things. I had a conversation with a client where they're like, we really want, you know, diverse background, and we're not just talking skin color, we're talking, you know, of all backgrounds and everything. And then we said, so if we had a candidate that was neurodiverse, well, they have to communicate well, and they have to fit in with us, and they have to be, you know, with our culture. So it's like, okay, you don't get it.
Well, that's just it. They talk about their culture, which is not inclusive, is what they just described.
And that's really what it comes down to, building a culture, the right culture that supports, empowers, and in doing so, you will become an employer of choice. People are going to want to come to your organization, but it has to be in alignment with your view, your values, your mission. All of those things have to be in alignment and for it to work for any of these different populations. You know?
Absolutely. And you were featured more recently in a business review too, I think.
Yeah.
It was like more, but it wasn't just you. It was the entire company.
Yeah, and
which
I'm
was
like
great.
I'm naturally an introvert, so like even if you see me in a lot of settings, like group settings, awards, any of that, I'm typically going to try to find somewhere where I could kind of be alone to myself somewhere. I do know how to be outgoing, but I just naturally like to kind of be alone.
Wallflower. Catherine's not a wallflower.
She's not
you got that wrong.
Well, you could be though, but you might just be like me and be able to step out your shell and do it at such a good a way that people don't notice it. But
I usually crash, like especially after Woman of Excellence. I was
just going to say, usually I hear introverts that act extroverted in situations sometimes like get drained afterwards.
And the pressure, right? So like you see people come up to you and say like, oh, I listened to your podcast, and you know that's like a responsibility, and you know people are listening to you, they're taking what you're saying and they're going out and acting on it, which you know could be a bad thing. So you just have to be careful, you know, what you do put out into the world. So I'm trying to be very thoughtful, intentional of like being a good role model, you know, and making sure that and the other piece too is like the transparency, right? Like I'm not going to stand up on a stage and pretend like I have all the answers and I know what the hell I'm doing. And I think that, you know, to be accessible to other people, to like just to bestow on me their wisdom and shared experiences is huge. And I also think people see you out and about, and you too, Joe, and it's like, it's inspiring, and it gets other people, but giving them the, you know, confidence to put themselves out and put their messages out, and you know, just like we're leveling the bar, I think, or
raising the bar.
And you're removing the fear, right? You see what's possible. Yes, certain things have to fall into place, but you see what's possible with the right energy, the right effort, the right support network. Right, and that's one of the reasons we started the podcast, was to share stories, share successes of different folks that maybe not everyone gets to sit down for coffee with, or sit down and have a glass of wine with, and just get to know and feel like they're part of the conversation.
Well, I didn't get a glass of wine.
Where's the wine? I definitely want the wine.
Sorry.
Where's the wine?
And I think what's super important is we grew up. I mean, you guys aren't that far removed from my age. You and I are probably the closest in age. But you guys aren't far behind.
I'm 38. I'm 39.
You're 39?
I'm a lot older.
I'm a lot older, too. All right, sorry.
Oof.
Thanks, Miriam.
Sorry to squish that dream.
But no.
I have the shortest hair.
Let me redo it. But what I'm saying is society has all taught us that things in our background or things that we've experienced may not be of the right mind. So, for example, you were formerly incarcerated, and you talk openly about it. You suffered from
bitches.
No, you suffered from postpartum.
Postpartum, yes.
That's you know when
I was going with the bitches too.
But yes, you did have that too. But what I'm talking about,
Oh God!
oh no,
Off the rails.
I
suffered from
But my point is you talked about it, and that's something that doesn't get a lot of attention. For years, I tried to not have any attention brought to my lack of education. And, you know, for me, because that was like a sticking point in my life where I didn't have a college degree and everybody around me had college degrees. And so I guess that I'm not as worthy because I didn't have a college degree. And that's bullshit. So the fact that you are bringing attention to your background so that other people can relate to it and look up to you guys as these things are possible for me too, I think is super, super important. And it's part of the reason why I love you all. So.
I was actually having a conversation with someone who is in the process of opening up a co-working space, a female-focused organization, like similar to Palette. And I'm so all about collaboration and like not reinventing the wheel. If I can share something with anybody, like call me up. I'll tell you all the things and all the mistakes I made, like doing a cafe first. Anyway, So anyway, she's with a lot of what we do at Palette is like ongoing consulting and coaching with our members because the mission is to advance each of them in business and in life, and they all have different needs, issues, wants, goals, etc. And this woman who I was talking to, she's like, well, what expertise or what experience do you have or credentials do you have to be consulting people? And I was like, I don't have any credentials. I'm like, I just have like, my own experience.
Lived experience.
Yeah, I was just going to say lived experience, I think.
I just got these businesses that you can come by and see if you
Right. But my point though is that like, she was of an older generation and it was like you had to have the credentials, you had to have that certificate of whatever to then feel confident enough to go and do the damn thing. So, and I think that younger generations up and coming, and I would love to talk to y'all about this, how we get these young people to stay in our community. They're foregoing college. They're not getting the certificate. They're just like putting themselves out there. It's like a lot of flexible work, gig economy. Like they're not staying with a job for 35 years. And, so it's like a totally different beast. And I think it's awesome. I think it's more of like an entrepreneurial mindset 100%. Where it's like just, you get one life. And like, why, if school's not for you, then don't waste your time there.
Absolutely. So Joe, let's talk about, so you have two very different businesses in my opinion.
Technically.
Three,
it's
sorry.
2 buttons deep as well, so all three.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Absolutely. So why?
Why all three? I just can't stop, and that's the thing is like, I look at this as, when we started Relentless 11 years ago was because the same thing. It's like I tried doing the whole job route. It didn't work. And then we just created my own path from there, with Rich. And then with Motor Oil, we were a little bad with that. Yeah, that was the one where it was like, and the same thing is like when you're in food and hospitality, it's a whole different thing. You got to be in it. You have to see it. And again, most people are like, I'll do the one and done. And then we have 5. And we never had any plans of doing that.
Now, was Motor Oil about the coffee or about the hospitality piece?
It's both ends now because we're doing farmers markets, we're doing events, we're doing retail, we're doing wholesale, we're doing the whole thing. And then we have franchising on top of that. That's going to start very soon. So, and then, so we always refer to those two as like the older kids. And then there's 2 buttons deep.
Yeah.
And I play an integral role in their back-end operations, make sure they get out of trouble.
Yeah.
But have helped
trouble.
shape their route to becoming a business from just an idea of 2 kids from Saratoga County on social media to now one of the fastest growing outlets in upstate New York.
Absolutely.
So it's what I love about it, and I love about even this whole process with Motor Oil Coffee and with 2 buttons deep is it's truly still a startup. And my work at Relentless, we've worked with startups. We worked with startups to Fortune 500, and you get to see every little bit of it. Yeah, from the good, the bad, the ugly, the WTF, all of that together. So,
Joe, which one is which one do you feel is like the most impactful and the one that's gonna be the one you ride off into the sunset?
Probably Motor Oil Coffee. Yeah, I think the thing with Relentless is that it's a very high-touch business. We have 44 clients, and it requires a lot because it's every single day. There's concerns where it's like, okay, you have one client that's doing great, product announcement, another client got arrested, another client, there might be a factory explosion, whatever it could be. And in that role, if you are a counselor, you're a critic, you're an advisor, you're meant to shepherd them through the process. And I always tell folks when when we're going through crisis com especially, again, it's like, you got to tell me the truth. If I'm going to be able to help you, you got to tell me the truth. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, but I will tell you what. I'm like, no, tell me everything.
Right.
And it's not meant to judge. It's meant to shepherd you through that path. And again, we've been doing it for 11, going on 12 years by the end of the year. It's an exhausting business because we have clients all across the country. So if there's one that's going to set me off to the top, it's going to be Motor Oil Coffee because it's enjoyable, it's feel good. Everybody loves a good cup of coffee. It's not controversial. It's good.
Yeah, well, it's not
Yeah.
controversial
Love it.
until you
Love
start
it.
putting olive oil in your coffee.
Yeah, we're not going to do
No,
that.
that's disgusting.
No.
My daughter came home and she was like, "What the hell are
Yeah.
they doing?" And I'm like, well, just don't drink it.
Somebody tries different things.
Yeah.
I like what you said there about just diving in and getting folks to be honest with you,
Yeah.
not from a truth and lie standpoint, but to open up
Yeah.
and disclose things. In so many business relationships, I'm only going to give you this 10% because this is what I want you to think of us,
Yeah.
right? I don't want you to know what's under the hood. We run into it from a hiring standpoint.
yeah.
I know
All the
every
time.
business with every vendor runs into that from a partnership standpoint. Like we work with Paul and we work with Adam here at Over It, and it's like they know our business.
Yeah.
Inside and out.
Right?
Yeah, it's
they know
very
when we
scary.
go off the rails. They know when we don't. But that creates the most truthful and open and honest relationship that you can be called out on your crap, but they also tell you when you're doing great.
Well, and I think those are the best business relationships, is the true partnerships. And when we talk to an organization, we talk about, listen, we want to be your trusted partner. You're their trusted partner
Correct.
for PR. We're a trusted partner for recruitment. And if we're not a trusted partner and you just see us as a transaction, then we're probably not the right fit for you, because the best relationships, the best success that both sides are going to have is when you have partnerships.
You got to walk together in that path.
Transparency, like you were saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like an ode to just like how you live out your values day in, day out in your business and in your life. And, you know, I think during COVID and in 2020 when like essentially was hitting the fan in all aspects of the world. And I think that the way that a lot of us showed up during that time is why we're still here and relevant, because we leaned into, you know, who we are, who our authentic selves are, what we believe in. And, you know, when you have the opportunity to put this stake in the ground and like share what you really give a shit about, you know, you only attract those types of people in your life. So I didn't mean to say, I didn't say it. See, I stopped before I said something I was going to regret. But in some ways, you know, COVID was, you know, a reckoning for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think it's let us all be comfortable in our own skin to some extent. You saw a lot more entrepreneurs come out and try things. Try and fail, try again, stumble, post it all, right?
Get new jobs.
Right.
Well, I think there was such a, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when COVID hit, I remember laying in bed watching TV and they were talking about these massive numbers of deaths, casualties. And it scared the out of me. I said to my husband, I was like, I'm not leaving this house. I'm not going anywhere. And he's like, Miriam, that's silly. Like, my husband's such a practical man, thank God, because I'm not. But really, and I think a lot of people, they were affected by it. They lost loved ones. I lost colleagues. I mean, I vividly remember one of the first tragedies of COVID that I was connected to, and I sobbed. I just sobbed. But I think that also really was like, everybody was like, F this, life is too short. I need to be happy. I need to take care of my people, my family, my life, my job. If I'm not happy, it did empower and embolden a lot more people to step out. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, we should all be living genuine lives. Like, that's not fun if you're not.
I agree. That's that. Go back to the article. So one thing they talked about was just that. Like, as an employer, most employer, I remember someone told me a long time ago, your employer will never pay you enough to be their neighbor or put you in a position to be their neighbor. And I just thought that was kind of unique. I was like, I could see that, but that's unfortunate. And you know, and that's a bad mindset. And so, like, one thing I'm experiencing, noticing, especially with the population that I tend to, you know, really be passionate about, is the majority are entrepreneurs. And so there's really they don't see themselves working for someone forever. And I think employers, I know employers better get hip to it because, like we were saying, you better be willing to support your team's initiatives with their goals outside of work the same way they're supporting your goals and your visions inside of work. And I think as employers smarten up or get in tune to that, they'll see a lot more success with the younger generation. You have to be flexible. You got to really pour into them and their visions. And as an entrepreneur, they can learn so much from you if you embrace that. And then let them go. Like, they're going to go on and do whatever they want to do anyway. So if you can help them and groom them, and they could be an asset for your organization, even if it is a year or two, that year you're going to get the best version of that person while they were with you. And that's all you could really ask for.
Right.
And so I just think employers better get hip to it, or, they're going to find out real quick that it's no longer staying around for 20 years and giving a nice watch at retirement. Like, those days
I want a
over
nice
with.
watch.
I mean, I tell
watch.
people, I talk to employers and they'll say things like, "Oh, people don't want to work anymore." I'm like, they don't want to work for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They do
That's
want to
the
work.
great- Right.
They just don't want to work for what you're offering.
True.
But I think we talk
And-
about that next generation piece. Like, they're so used to, and you can look at Instagram or some of the other channels, that collaboration, right? I'm doing something, you're doing something. Let's do a post. I get hit up all the time for stuff, and usually it's crooked and sideways and probably sketchy stuff. But I don't.
And he says yes to it.
Right?
He's like, "All right, I'll give it a try."
Let's try this out.
Yeah, I need a hair tie, right? But right, they're so used to collaborating and doing stuff and being creative. There's
Yeah.
a lot of creative. I mean, you see
Yeah.
digital creator as a job. Like, all right, clearly you have 100,000 people following you and you're posting stuff. Something's going right. More than one thing. So
Agreed.
that collaboration among businesses, I agree with you. I think that's a great point.
Has to be.
It's more partnerships, less competition. And I believe there's enough business. I mean,
is.
the staffing industry in Albany, how many staffing firms are there in Albany?
There's a ton of y'all.
Okay, thank you.
There's a lot of you.
But we're
We're
doing
getting
fine.
good use of that car horn.
But
We really are. Today's going to be a great car horn day.
But it's also a growing market. There are more people.
But that's the whole point. Like, there's enough business to go
everybody,
around.
yeah,
Tom
right.
and I
Yeah, I
used
agree
to
with
share
you.
business often. I'll never forget the time where I was at a restaurant having a lunch meeting. He comes into the same restaurant and happens to get seated right next to me with a client he's working with. He leans over and introduces me to his client and says, "You need to talk to her because she's the one that's going to help you with those jobs. I'll help you with these jobs. She has to be the one that helps with those jobs." He didn't have to do that. And I wasn't going to take his business away from him, but he knew that I was going to be the best partner. And oftentimes I'd be like, "You got to call Tom Shin," when we weren't working together, because that was more successful. We were looking out for the best interests of our clients, and we were collaborating and we were helping each other, and neither one of us went out of business.
Nope.
He did eventually come work for me, though, by the way. I'm
She
just
brought,
saying.
she brought me a couple of lunches. We went to Ginger Man once.
Ginger Man, which is
Yeah.
now the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, and we went
The-
Milano's
No,
Oh, no,
the sushi place
in
in the
Latham.
same
Yeah, the
same
same
plaza.
plaza.
I forget the name of it.
up in Loudonville, near the old paint set.
We would get together. We'd Kodo. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'd get
that's
together
where the
often.
restaurant handoff was.
Yeah.
I remember who it was. And I remember who she was having lunch with too.
Yeah.
So one of our
Crazy,
former
right?
guests.
Yeah, I know it.
So I'm going to bring us back into our theme here with the HR in the car. I want to know, since you've been on the show, or it could have been the last month, you pick the time frame, what was your most memorable flat tire moment and what you got from it?
Ooh, I didn't even know this
No?
was
Joe
coming.
first?
I started with I think Trent first. Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
we redefine a flat tire moment?
Something that went more awry than you wanted it to. It doesn't necessarily
Okay.
have to be a success, right? It
I
can be
got
it's just a
one.
Or
lesson.
something you learned.
Yeah.
I got one. Well, it's not work.
I mean, you could have had a flat tire too. I mean, you have lots of
we
vehicles.
do.
I mean, you have a
so,
fleet,
to be
right?
fair.
I'm
Knock
giving you the
on
air
wood,
fresheners
no
for the whole
flat
fleet.
tires. But,
Yeah, right. He's like, no,
Yeah,
that's my worst nightmare.
right. We don't
He's
need
not awake at
any
night.
of that maintenance stuff. One of the biggest things. Well, all right. So one thing we did is we purchased a 4-property unit. This is outside of the businesses.
Mm-hmm.
This is another business, and so we purchased a 4-unit in Troy, city owned. And so me and my wife we buy city owned properties.
That was on the paper.
Yeah.
Yep.
My wife's story. Yeah. And so actually that was court talking about collaboration. Catherine invited us to the track, and then my wife ended up connecting with someone, and that's how all of that naturally just
So it's
came.
Catherine's fault.
So yeah.
Okay.
Flat tire is my
The
fault.
flat tire is your fault.
Maybe.
No, so,
Let's hear the rest of the story
all right,
first.
so back to the flat tire. So we get this 4-unit property. When you own, every city does it different. And so this was the first time we bought a city-owned in Troy. And you don't get to see it. It's a blind purchase.
What?
All the way through. So you don't know what's
No
wrong
pictures,
with
anything?
it.
Are these properties that are like they didn't pay their taxes, like tax default, so you pay up
Through the land
like,
bank or
Yeah.
I don't know how they become city-owned properties. I think that does play a part
Yeah,
of
my
it.
dad does it. Well, we can talk about this. You keep
Yeah.
going with your
All right,
story
all right.
because my dad does this in New Orleans, and it's unbelievable how
Yeah.
many people just don't pay their
taxes,
property
and
taxes,
then they lose it.
and they lose their
Yeah.
house.
It's true. And so we get this property, finally go. They don't even have a key to the property. Like, we close and there's no key. They're just like, figure it out. And so we
Run and
right.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's
It's a good thing this is on
Where's
video.
the axe?
we got to get inside. So we get inside. Boom, boom, boom. We're getting in. I have a locksmith come. He's getting us in. The one door we can't get in. I'm like,
God,
yo, what's
no.
wrong? What is wrong with this door? Like, it feels like something's jamming it. Then we heard a dog bark.
Oh.
Like, what's going on here? And then, so finally, I'm like, you know what? Someone's in the apartment. And so,
Somebody's staying there.
right. So we purchased a house with someone in it. Now, that's not even the
flat
crazy
tire
part,
part.
right? So now we're dealing with that, but we're starting the renovation process. One day I come in with the contractor. My wife is with me, contractor's with me. We're walking upstairs. We just walked 2 of the units. We're going up to one of the units. Soon as I come in, there's someone like laid out on the floor. Like, and I'm like, the contractor said, "Are they dead?" And as soon as they said that, then the person was like, "I'm not dead." And then, and then just
Ghosts rising out of the floor.
I'm not dead. And then just starts getting up. I'm like, what is going on here right now? And so,
Oh, no.
come to find out, it looked like it was boarding up properly. They didn't board it up properly, so it was just a board there. Individuals in the community knew that, and this has been a vacant property for some time, so they would just come in, and this was the spot.
Crash,
And so,
yeah.
the crash spot. So, so that's been an interesting thing to navigate. We're still in the process of navigating
Well,
and
because
getting
they
it
have
done.
squatters' rights.
Yeah.
So you don't have to. They don't have to leave.
No, squatters, they might have more rights than we have.
Wow.
Like,
Interesting.
It's very interesting arena to be in.
So that sounds more like 4 flat tires.
Oh,
A little
yeah.
knocking in the engine.
Oh, I could keep going. I have a car that's knocking the engine right now. I could keep going. Like, as we all
Not
know,
the shuttles. This is
not the
just-
shuttle.
No,
This
yeah.
is personal. This is personal.
Yeah, the shuttles are in very fine working
Right, those
condition.
are fine. Those are all fine.
Disclaimer.
This is personal. This is a personal vehicle, but people always see all of the glitz, the glamour, but they don't see all of the stuff that takes place
Yeah.
behind the closed scenes,
Yep.
the flat
Right.
tires. So that's my flat tire story.
Right, and you're going to recover from those.
Oh,
It's
100%.
not,
It's a flat tire. It's going to get fixed, and then
Right.
eventually you'll be right back on the
Exactly.
road, rolling again. So.
Yeah. Oh,
All right.
Look at that.
Yes.
Your turn, Catherine.
Okay. Oh my God, there are so many. I just
Right.
have to point out that there are just so many failures or flat tires. And I mean, I think like I always say, like failure is the mother of success. So you got to get through that before you can get to the other side of it. But I mean, honestly, when I started Palette, I was hell bent on creating like this awesome coffee shop space where we could, gather and do programming and stuff. But the focus was just like going into a coffee shop and being, served a cup of coffee with a smile and a, hey, how are you? How's it going? Okay, great. Have a good day. And it stemmed from me walking into coffee shops and not feeling like, supported. Like I didn't just need the caffeine. I needed like the
A love.
community. Yeah. Yeah. So, I think we opened in June of 2019, and 2 months after we opened that cafe is when I started talking about the co-working space on top of the cafe and building out this community for ourselves and what I needed in my life that was missing. And, again, I don't have any regrets because I feel like you got to go through that, but essentially I didn't need to build a coffee shop to build community. And, it was like a very big disillusion for me. Like I felt like there needed to be this tangible place for people to go, and a way to get them inside the space. Then we could have these like awesome conversations and build a community. So, at the end of 2021, I ultimately decided to like kill the cafe, and we did hand it off to a girl named Kelly. She opened up the Broadway Grind. It's still in operation in downtown Saratoga, and it's just was such a relief to be able to get that off of my plate. But I certainly felt like, oh my gosh, you hear about it all the time. Like it's a roller coaster, and that is kind of like what happens when you don't have a clear, defined plan. I am not of the mindset of like working things out until they're, all the issues are flushed out, because you're always just going to have more issues that come up. So I'm more of like a, leap and then look, build the plane on the way down. And sometimes you crash. And I think that it all led to where I am now, but it was tough emotionally to be like, okay, yeah, I'm literally shutting the door here.
Did it feel like it was a failure? That's why?
I felt like it was a waste of energy, like had I just started with what I really wanted to do on day one and like fully believe that this was a need and there was a fit here, I could have had more energy. And I know this is like a funny thing coming from me because I am pretty high energy, but like during COVID, it's like, I think I'm right now feeling like that I'm just like realizing what we all went through, and I'm finally, people are finally coming back into paint and sip, and, that business certainly took a hit badly. So it's like, I pivoted, but, you have to keep pivoting. You have to keep reinventing the wheel, and it's just, it's exhausting. So I would say that like shutting down the cafe it was also just like made me remember having to close Paint and Sip in Latham, which we closed, at the end of the day, that rent was way more expensive than downtown Saratoga, surprisingly enough.
Really?
And it was a totally different vibe, like it was suburbs, it wasn't downtown. So it was just like a totally different thing. And having to shut that down it just like brought back all those memories.
I didn't even realize that was your shop. I actually did something there with my girlfriend. We did a Saturday night type of thing a couple of years ago. So
yeah.
So the real question is, the painting still hanging?
Yeah.
Actually, it is. It's up at my little camp, and it was Friends themed. So it was the sofa and the fountain. And
cool.
So it was, it's perfect.
See, what you said, Catherine, there, it just resonates with me, because I know you like to talk about kindness and collaboration as kind of the engine for economic development, but I think that coffee shop was part of that story. Although you had to kind of shut it and kind of put it to another path. For a community member, and I would go through, and I had many coffees there with lots of folks, but I think it's still part of that process to get you where you are today. Like you wouldn't necessarily, while you might have had energy to go elsewhere, that energy was focused in on there, and it created something for other folks to create, embellish, get to connect and collaborate and work together and just form relationships. So don't discredit that. I think there's a lot of wins out of that.
I don't want it to sound like I'm, woo is me, because I'm fine, everything's good. But like also that also stemmed from like the landlord. I just had run into him, and it was like back to relationships. I just knew the guy, and the business was going out of business. It was like a dress shop, and I was like, well, Jim, that shouldn't even be a dress shop. That is like, it's like such a cute little patio area. Like make that a coffee shop. That's what it should be. We need more coffee on this block, and then I just like kept connecting the dots, and one thing led to another, and so now that place is a coffee shop. I still get coffee there around the corner from my house, and it's all good. But so I like to think of myself as like a little bit of a mini economic developer. Like that should be a coffee shop. Somebody gonna do it.
There you go.
No one's gonna do it. I guess I'll do it, and then we'll hand it off
And then
to
we'll
somebody.
get someone else. Love it.
How about you, Joe?
It's funny with the coffee shop theme being an example of trials and tribulations, because years ago I did co-own another coffee shop, and it was done in collaboration with a now former client. And I thought, okay, it'd be kind of great. Always wanted to own a coffee shop since like college. And so we found a place right on Delaware Avenue in Albany. And at first it seemed great. good partner. I've known him for a while, and every step of the way, it just got worse and worse and worse. I was footing the bill for all the fit up, and it was just fraying. We were good friends too, and it frayed the friendship on top of that. To the point where it was severely affecting how I was able to work with clients at Relentless. So I said at a different time, gave suggestions. They were immediately knocked down. I said, hey, we should probably add beer, wine, and cider because the movie theater's right next door. No, it'll never work, whatever. So after about a year, got out of there, and then discovered that he never filed any taxes. So that was a whole other thing too, right? It was a gift that kept on giving.
The gift.
Right. And so here's the thing. So then that shop eventually closed, and turns out somebody did go in there. They did do beer, wine, and cider. It's a smashing success there. So it required going through those trials and tribulations, learning about that process. So therefore, it's okay, don't do this. Find the right people, and then let's try it again for motor oil, right? And that's how it happened. I have one other small flat tire on the Relentless side. So we had worked with this one client, national client, and the end of 2019 on Boxing Day, they gave us at least Christmas. They told us we're done for the following year. It was December of 2019. And they represented 44% of our billings.
Oh,
okay. And so we had to figure this out. Me and my business partner, people came back after holiday break. And then we found that some of our employees were then going to work with the client. Okay, so it was a whole cataclysmic thing, right?
Ugly.
So we're we got to figure out this whole. We assured the rest of our team, we're fine, we will persevere. Then 3 months later, COVID happened, and then we became a resource for a lot of different companies and businesses, some former clients, current clients, and some prospective clients, on trying to interpret guidance on the federal and state level. And we were able to recover pretty quickly in that era. But it was just both of those times exhausting. And I think for the three of us, actually everybody here in this room, we all understand those points of perseverance and to be able to work through it. And we use those lessons to be able to kind of figure out the next big thing from there.
Definitely.
Agreed.
So we have to wrap up soon. I'm very sad. It went fast, didn't it?
Fast.
Yeah.
But I had asked you all to come with a question for Tom and I. So if we can do this in a lightning round format, I think that's probably going to keep us on time because everybody knows how I am about time. And then I have people whispering in my ear, you got 4 minutes left. So I'm going to start with Joe.
All right. So, because I'm a little bit quirky with this, so I put my shirt on, one button here, in the middle up top. How do you two?
Every time? That's legit?
Yes, it's legit.
Yeah, and
I don't put it up or down.
All right, so hold on. I'm just
story.
going to say it is not a good system because dude misses buttons. And the first meeting we ever had is coming out now, Joe. You did it. I wasn't going to bring it up, but it's coming out now, buddy.
I wanted you to bring it up because all for
Literally
the content.
sits down in front of me, and I'm short. Joe's tall. He's across from me. The seats aren't level, and I'm looking at his chest, and I literally see chest hair sticking out of his shirt.
And I had gone to 3 other press conferences that morning prior.
I
thought as a guy, you're supposed to start at the bottom, right? Isn't that how you were taught?
I'm gonna let. I don't do a lot of button-up shirts. I do a lot of slip over my heads,
Yeah,
and
I don't do a lot of
pop
button.
my collar. I'm a pop my
You
collar kind of
are
girl.
a popped collar person.
Sorry,
What is that?
That's like
She's like the old Nike polo shirt
That's
from
like
the
from my
80s.
90s
I
high
love
school
it.
days.
I love
That's my
Do
my
it.
I
signature
bet you she has
style.
leg warmers at home.
I don't.
Look, the
So,
90s fashion is back.
That's right.
It's a fish.
So
It's
Tom,
never
how do you
left.
button your shirt?
I go top down.
Top down.
Top down, except for the top
down.
one when I wear a tie. That has to come last. I don't like it's hard to get your arms like this, and you can see in a video.
Fair enough. Yeah.
No, this is always the last one, but I go top down.
Great question.
Yeah.
Love it.
I had to do it.
Love it.
Are
Catherine.
you top down?
Yeah, I'm
He's top down too.
But I'll leave this one until the ties actually
Yeah.
go.
And when
And
you
I
wear a
hate- I
hoodie,
hate the
Trent, you
buttons
don't
on the
even have
collar.
to deal with that.
Oh,
Right.
hoodies, yeah. No, hoodies, we're good. Just throw that thing on.
That's right.
Well, I'm going to kick
me
it to
to
Trent.
go?
Yeah, you go next because my question is really good and a great closing
Okay.
So
It's a great
you're
closer.
discounting my question. I might have a great
Wow, that's fair.
throw
That's
down.
Do you want to go
I'll go.
simultaneously? We'll both ask the
Yours
same
is
time.
probably way
You can
better.
flip
Yours
the
is
air
way better.
freshener.
No,
right? See, for the
yours would
cameras,
be
we
way
have air
better.
fresheners. Shades are in the car.
My question to you is, what allergies do you have? What do you struggle with? Because I went and got. I have allergies. I've been getting shots for years. Well, for some years now.
Do you need her fingerprints too and
No,
social
I'm
security
just
number?
wondering because I'm allergic to everything.
I'm allergic to the worst problem is the thing I'm most allergic to is dust.
Ooh,
And
me too.
dust
I
is
am too.
freaking
It's everywhere.
everywhere.
Yep.
And then mildew and
Yep.
mold spores
Yep.
are my triggers, which are freaking everywhere.
Yes.
So I went to the doctor because I was having these terrible sinus headaches, and I said, well, my daughter thinks I'm taking too many medicines because she thinks she knows everything after 1 year of pharmacy school. She actually does know a lot, so I can't wait for her to be a pharmacist. But anyway, and the doctor was like, I'm going to add another one. And so I'm on 3, and if you count Benadryl, 4. But if that did work. I started. I have Allegra, Nasacort, and then there's another one. I can't remember the name of Singular.
Yep.
The Singular took away my headaches, and I was having terrible sinus headaches. But if for some reason they start to get worse again, I'm actually gonna go to the doctor and see about the shots because I'm dying.
No, I was like that. I'm allergic to everything. Like when they do the test, every single thing popped up.
Me too. I had
Like,
yeah.
literally,
It's
I'm like,
ridiculous.
what does this mean?
Yeah.
Right. We're gonna have to take you in. But and so I struggled with that. I never had the headaches though, but my eyes, my congestion. I'm actually a little congested right now, and the allergy shots have been working though. I've come
All
a
right,
long
good
way.
to know.
And so
Because someone else told me they had them when they were a child and they were life changing, and I need life changing right now because
been
it's
life-changing.
last week with the smoke.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
was dying.
yeah,
I was
yeah. I'm with you.
dying.
I'm definitely with you.
And I didn't realize how bad it was until it was really bad.
100% with you. And then one question for you too, Tom.
Yeah.
So someone introduced me to work you were doing outside of this work. And
Yes.
so I just wanted to know, like, what's your what are you doing in that space, and what's your goal, like your long-term goal?
My long-term goal. My goal is so I run a small business. It's just me and supported by Alaant. That Miriam, that was one of the things coming on board. It's called Build Better Culture. And so my impetus behind that is to help people build better. Like, you have a culture, make it better. Doesn't need to be the best. Yeah, you want it to be the best. Make it a little bit better. People will want to stay just a little bit more. Instead of 2 people lost in a year, you only lost 1, right? And that's a trickle-down effect. And so, yeah, that hit me. So I'll give credit back to Paul Kelly because, the thought process behind this from way beyond my staffing years was in publishing, and there's a management training program, and just kind of seeded that piece. You train your frontline managers how to do things better, more people will stay. And when I left that organization, all my sales team, their numbers just started to go down, and people were kind of, well, he wasn't that good because they all dumped. I'm like, no. They all went down because he left.
That's right.
I'm like, oh, I like that. Thank you.
Right.
And so I've always tucked that feather in the back of my head, but I wanted to share that knowledge, right? You don't need everything. One thing, like I had a presentation recently, and I read the reviews after, and I thought it was pretty good. And one of them said, meh, and it took me like weeks to be like,
Get over that one.
Get over
Yeah.
that.
I'm like,
Yeah.
like, but it's real though. Like, you can't affect everybody.
Agree.
I know I connected with several that thought, hey, this message hit home. So
No, that's awesome.
yeah, thanks.
Good stuff, yeah.
Nice little plug. I appreciate that.
So you do it's the culture talk stuff, so right?
Yeah.
So are you hero?
I'm a hero. I'm a big hero, caregiver, and creator. So plug in for my culture talk folks. And cat allergies is my thing. And so you can look up dogs are better than cat on Instagram because cats suck. I hate cats.
What am I? I'm not.
You're a hero.
I'm a hero too.
Hero
Okay,
ruler.
That's right.
Right.
Ruler.
Oh, yes.
And it's not a bad thing, right?
Yes.
So you want to have
I
culture
forgot
talk
that part.
conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really awesome stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Thanks.
That's like I was introduced to that when we first met through
Teresa.
a business development group with
Yep.
up in Saratoga, and yeah, it's like I still think about all that stuff all the time, and hiring for that, right? Like you may not be able to work with somebody that's a hero.
It's true.
Because it might step on your toes.
Very true.
That never happens at all.
All right,
Never
Catherine.
Okay,
You
my
get the
question is
last
like, is
one.
there gonna be a season 2? HR in the car?
That wasn't
That's a
even
nice segue.
scripted. Thank you so much.
Do you keep it going? I mean, you do.
Yes.
You do keep it going,
The
right?
answer is yes. And if it's for nothing else, that this selfish reason is I'm having way too much fun doing this to stop. And the feedback so far has been fantastic. And he and I think we got a good thing going.
Yep.
He and I have such a great relationship. I truly love this guy. To work with him, his birthday was last week, so I was like, you are like one of the greatest guys I know, and I mean that sincerely. So to do this with him and to keep talking to people like you, absolutely yes.
We're already starting our list, so if you have suggestions, we want to hear
people.
them.
We do
I
really
love
need
it.
people.
Well, have you had your colleague Lauren Valentine on the show? Because I met her last week or the week before that. She is pretty spectacular.
One of the things we might consider doing for the next season is pull in maybe some Alaant people. But the purpose of it is to put the spotlights on other businesses, other community leaders, and the good that's happening around us.
Yeah.
So maybe. But thank you for saying that, because I think Lauren is a freaking rock star.
Yeah,
I feel like we
and
get
I just-
episodes with her every day. So.
Yeah, we
I do
Yeah.
want to point out that a lot of people, think Smallbany. Yeah, I said it. I said it. Smallbany. But
It's
it's
a good
like
thing.
I think it's such a strength to have a close knit, collaborative community. Like maybe you saw or you could have seen Tom as a competitor. You could have, what I'm saying, like
Yeah.
Lauren worked for another company that she works for you. So I just think it's awesome. You never know where people are going to land.
Exactly.
So you got to just be
Absolutely.
kind
That's a
to
fact.
everybody. Damn
That's a
it.
fact.
Well,
it.
you know what? Thank you.
That's very
be a
true.
good human. It's
it
not
is.
hard to be a
There
good
it is.
human and be kind. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't know where this conversation was going to go, but I think this was car horn, f***ing fantastic.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Highest
Also
rating.
amazing.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
Yeah.